today we're going to look at a concept using two Hebrew words, and it is why you were created. And so I'm going to give it to you, the answer to you now, and then we'll actually look at if that is substantiated by Scripture, okay, and by the Hebrew language. So the reason why you were created is because Yah created you for this walk. So many people who come into this Hebrew walk are like, I knew something was missing, or I knew that this was the place for me, or I knew that this is where I was heading. And one of the frustrating things for a lot of people is that when you come into the walk, people are always telling you, forget everything you know, forget everything on your journey up until now, because none of that stuff mattered. Well, that's not true. The truth is that the people who come to this revelation and come to the knowledge of who the Hamashiach is and what the Hebrew language is and who the Hebrew people are, you were put on this path from the beginning. And what you're doing now is realizing why everything happened, and it puts everything into a proper perspective. So the reality is that you were created for this walk. Yah created you for this walk. So we're going to look at two words. First, what we're going to look at is the Hebrew word asah. So I'll actually put the Paleo Hebrew in my edit so you guys can see it. And so interesting about this word is that if you look it up in different lexicons, it might be spelled with the samic in the place of that sin, shin. And so it's ayin, shin, or sin, hey, and then ayin, samic, hey in other books. And it literally means to accomplish something, doing something, forming, fulfilling, causing to grow, or developing of something. So the first place we get this idea of something causing to grow or develop is actually in Genesis. And it's actually in Genesis chapter, through the whole first chapter. And there's two different words that are used in the creative story. There's a word for bara, which is to fill or to fatten something, and in the sense of creating. So he bara, or created. And then there is the term or the word asa, which we have here, and it has to do with the idea of making something and then causing it to do something after it's been made. Okay, so let's look at it. In the first chapter of Genesis, Yah creates the heavens and the earth, right? And he does it, and very interestingly, he speaks all of creation into being. But when it comes to man is created a little different, okay? And it's interesting because man is created in the likeness and in the image of Yahuwah, Elohim, right? Or of his complete power, okay? And so this idea of created, he creates all this stuff, and after every day that he creates something, he goes, and it was good. Heaven, stars, the moon, it was good, and it was good. And then when you get down to Genesis or Bereshit, and you get to you get to the 31st verse of Genesis chapter 1, it says, and Yah saw everything that was created, and Yah saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and morning the sixth day. So after he created everything on those 6 days, then it was very good, okay? And the idea of what we see in verse 31 that makes it so powerful, absolutely powerful, is that when he creates this, and it's very good, so he saw all that he had made, it's this idea of asa. And it has to do with the idea of everything he bara, or filled, began to do and function as it was supposed to function. So the word asa has to do with the idea of doing. You're created, but then you have a work. So the reason why after every day he said it was good or functional, that's the tov, it deals with this idea of I created the sun to do its purpose, and it was functional, which means it did it. I said it, it was, and then it did. When it comes to man, it's the same thing. Man is created, and what he was created to do was to walk out this walk. And we'll deal with this idea of what this word walk means in just a second. So this idea that after Yah did all this, obviously on the seventh day, he rested because everything was operating and functioning in a proper order. One of the weirdest concepts I think that people come up with when they get into a religious system is that you try to talk away doing certain things because you don't understand why you were created to do them. And one of the issues with mass religion, and from my background, a mass Christian religious background, is that I can explain away why I don't have to do something because in my religious circle, I'm not supposed to question God. But asking God what his purpose is for you, and not Rick Warren, purpose-driven life, but really, why was I placed here, is part of the reason why you were placed here. You were placed here so that the eternity, like in Ecclesiastes, that's bound up in the heart of man, can then seek the Creator and seek what his purpose and function is for you. And so man was created to do something. And he was created to do it and to do it well. So what is man created to do? He's created for this walk, okay? So, very interesting. Let's go to Deuteronomy, and I think I can pull it up on here. Deuteronomy 5 and 15. Because he deals with this idea of to do something, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 5. We're going to go to verse 15. And it says, "And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that Yahuwah thy Elohim brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, Yahuwah thy Elohim commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day," which is very interesting. The reason why the idea of to do, and it doesn't make sense right off the bat, the reason why the idea of to do and to rest are connected to one another is because you don't rest when you're not doing something. So people who don't feel like they have to keep the Sabbath day is probably because you're not doing what you were created to do. If you were doing what you were created to do, then a part of doing is to then rest from the doing of what you were created to do. And so it's interesting because how we explain away in religious circles that I'm resting in the finished work of the Hamashiach, right? But he did something and left also something for us to do. He finished his work. And when Yah rested from his work, it didn't mean that all creation, now that it was very good, stopped doing everything that it had been created to do. No, I made everything functional so that the purpose that everything is supposed to carry out, especially man, can now be carried out to completion, right? And in the right manner. It's very interesting. So I did all of this and created all of these things and put all this into place so that you could do. The idea of the Hamashiach coming and dying and raising again and being the Savior and paying the penalty for sin and death, not ridding us of doing something. He comes and he says, they say, testelestai, right? But literally it is finished. His work is finished, which means I've done, just as Yah did in the creative work of the world, I've done what is necessary for you to now be able to do what you are put on this planet to do. And what is that? To be the light of the world and the salt of the earth. It makes it very difficult to do something when all of the elements are not doing what they're supposed to do. He does his part, just as Yah did his part in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. He does his part so that then man can do his part without excuse. The reason for the Hamashiach, for us, we were created for this walk. We were created so that Yahushua is in the end of the law. Not the end, meaning it's done away with, but the goal. Once you've made it to the goal and you've received him, it makes it so much easier to do what you were created to do. Not to make you lawless, but to give you a working idea of how things are supposed to function so that you can do. Okay? So you're created for, so we got the idea that what you're created. You're created to do something. Nobody's created not to do anything. Nobody's waiting for somebody to come to make it so you don't have to do anything. James says faith, right? So to be securely fastened to something and to understand it and to grasp it and to do nothing with it, faith without works is dead. You're telling me you know something, but I don't see any evidence of what you know. You're telling me that you're, in the Christian sense, free from the law, yet you don't even know what you're free from because you don't even know the law. I don't need to know it because I'm free from it. How about knowing how to do it? I tell people all the time, if I've mastered love according to Yah's standard of love in Torah, and I understand how to love in the way Yah intends for me to love, do I need something to teach me how to love anymore? No, I've got it. But that doesn't mean that it's done away with. It means that the purpose of it has been fulfilled, and now I am functioning according to a proper understanding of what he had for me to understand. Okay, so I'm doing what he wants me to do, so you don't have to say it again. It's just like potty training. No, my mom at my age doesn't come with me to the bathroom anymore because she did she worked out the law part of potty training, which is when you feel like you have to go, get up, go to the bathroom. Okay, when I was 1 and 2, yeah, remind me, go to the bathroom. My mom doesn't have to remind me when my bladder gets full to go to the bathroom. I have mastered potty training. I don't need a potty trainer. I'm a master potty trained adult, right? But it doesn't negate the fact that I am operating based upon the rules and the regulations that were set forth when she was training me. You don't get rid of the foundation. Now, if my mom taught me how to be potty trained and all of a sudden at 30 years old, I'm peeing on myself, now there's something wrong. Something went crooked. Or somebody else comes along and tells me, you know, you don't have to be potty trained. Put a diaper back on. That's not okay. And that's what people are doing with modern religion, is saying, you know what? I know you're supposed to be trained to do things a certain way, but forget all that. Pee on yourself. You know? Do whatever you want. And then just ask for forgiveness, because all that stuff is done away with. Who's going to tell you how you should be potty trained, or how you should eat, or how you should live? You don't need that anymore because it's in your heart. Yeah, it was in my heart as a child to stop peeing on myself eventually, but Yah gave me a parent in order to instruct me on how not to pee on myself. He didn't just throw me into the world and say, no parent for you, the Hamashiach is coming, and eventually you'll learn all these things in your heart. No, you still have to have it worked out. It says to work out your salvation in fear and trembling, which means to grasp these things and to put them into practice so that you understand them. So no, you don't have to, every time you get ready to do something, go, let me go and figure out what's the law for helping somebody when they're in trouble. No, you're just going to do it because now you know what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? You kind of get what I'm saying? It was a long way, but you get it. Okay, so you were created to do something. And the something that you were created to do is this particular walk. And I'm not talking about the walk based upon what religion tells you the walk is, or the way based upon religion tells you the way is. It's the way that Yah says the way is. One of the things that I convey to people all the time, for me, and why I'm on this personal journey, is that I don't get to go to my Father and tell him that I didn't do something because somebody told me I didn't have to do it. I teach the young children's class in our Shabbat group, and all the words that I bring out, I share them with them first, because I feel like if you teach something on that level, then anybody can grasp it. And so one of the young ladies in the class, we were talking about this idea of doing something that your parent tells you to do. So I said, can somebody, if your father tells you, come home, clean up your room, and do it this way. So I want you to do this, 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 this. And on your way home, you're walking with your friend and you tell her, oh, I can't go, I have to go home and clean my room. And she goes, well, and what do you have to do? Well, I have to do this, 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 this. And she goes, well, that's kind of dumb. It would be much easier if you just did this, 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 and this. And you go home, and instead of doing what your father asked you to do, you go, you know what, that was kind of interesting. My friend made sense when she said that to my teenage or young mind. And so I go home and I do it like my friend said to do it, because it was easier for me, and it's how it sounded better and it felt better to me. And then when your father gets home, he's going to say, excuse me, but I told you to do X, Y, and Z. And you go, oh yeah, I did, but I did it this way because my friend told me that it would be better if I did it this way. But your friend didn't ask you to do it, your father did. So now you're in trouble with your father because you listen to what somebody else said over what your father said. People will be without excuse when Yah calls them on that. I've given you the word. I've given you my word. And it's the final say. If you don't understand what I am saying, seek me. Don't seek somebody else about what I'm telling you to do. Because let me tell you something that's very interesting about people who hear and read Yah's word and who are really after his heart. You know exactly what he's telling you to do. But everybody always is that they run it through somebody else because they don't understand why Yah's telling them to do it. But sometimes Yah's telling you to do it because you're his and you're called and you're chosen. And by you doing it, you're going to draw other people to him. So if you don't do it and you listen to somebody else, then you got the blind leading the blind. But if you do it and you work out your particular walk with the Father, then you'll see that you were put on in this place to do something in order to draw others to do. But if the person who's set up as the light of the world and the salt of the earth loses their savor and puts their light out, then guess what? Everybody else is in darkness. Okay, so let's get to this next word. The next word that we have is, so we have you were created, and it's for this walk. And this walk comes from the word halakha. So it's hey, lamet, kaf, sophie. Okay? And so the hey is to lo or behold, right? So you're in awe of something, right? And the lamet is the shepherd's staff, right? And the kaf, and in this case the kaf, sophie, because at the end, it's literally the palm of the hand. And so you're in awe, and you're walking with or following the one who holds the shepherd's staff, or with the rod in their hand, right? So it means to walk. And the person with the shepherd's staff in their hand is also the messenger. They're the leader and the messenger. Very interesting. So Psalm 142, and I'll actually read it out of the Bible, and you guys can pull it up. I'll add the verses on the screen. Psalm 142 and 4 deals with this idea of walking, okay? So we're going to Psalm 142. And verse 4, and it says, I looked on my right hand and beheld, but there was no man that would know me. Refuge failed me, and no man cared for my soul. And he said, I cried to thee, O Yahuwah, and said, Thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Right? So you're dealing with this idea of the one who is with me, and looking at my right hand, obviously, there was no man to know me. But the one who carries a shepherd's staff, obviously, knows the person that he is walking with, right? So in this sense, there's no one walking with him. But then he goes, oh wait, Yahuwah is my refuge, right? So is that true? Is he the refuge? All right. So in this sense, obviously, in that case, you have the psalmist walking. The halakha, or the walk, is this idea of walking. But in this walk, he's talking, I see no one with me, right? So then go to Genesis 48 and 15, and this word halakha also has to do with the idea of allowing to be led. One of the things that people don't understand is Yah is not forcing anybody to do anything. When we got the commandments as a people at Sinai, he gave them, and then he goes, okay, what do the people say? And they said, all that you have said, we will do. Why? Because in order to enter into a covenant, right, you have to, both parties have to be in agreement to be in the covenant, right? You can't force someone into a covenant. Now, what's very interesting is, as a creation, the world is naturally in covenant with Yah, because he created it, right? But the idea of accepting or coming into a particular family or into a particular covenant, it has to be something you accept. One of the things that is done in the Christian church, and probably a lot of you experienced this when you were on that particular journey, or on that particular part of your journey, was that you had to accept Yahushua HaMashiach, or in that sense, Jesus Christ, as your personal Lord and Savior. What is a Lord? A Lord is a master. I'm accepting the fact that this person now has ownership and rulership over my life in order to lead me into a particular direction. What you did not know at that time was that you were accepting the word of Yah, because he gives the same remedy over and over and over again. He doesn't change the remedy just because you don't understand what it is. You're accepting his word to then be the final say and the master over your life, right? For this walk. Okay, so allowing to be led. Genesis 48 and 15 says, and he blessed Yosef and said, before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, so this is Yaakov, or Israel, Yasharal for some people. He's saying this, and he said, he blessed Joseph and said, Elohim, before whom my fathers, Abraham and Yitzhak or Isaac, did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life, long unto this day, right? So he's saying, the one in whom my fathers in them walked, I'm walking in that same path. To get on a path and to get in this walk and not walk in the same way that the other people walk and say, no, we're walking on a new path, and it's Yahushua or Jesus who is now leading me on this new and different path. No. Same path. Jacob didn't walk on a new path. He walked on the old and trodden out path. It says, seek ye the old path, and then you'll find righteousness. Actually, let's actually look up that particular verse. I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Jeremiah. Okay, Jeremiah 6:16. And it says, Jeremiah 6:16 says, thus saith Yahuwah, stand ye in the way, and see and ask for the old path, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. That's what we're dealing with today. But what our patriarch says, Israel, he says, no. You guys are going to walk in the path as he blessed Joseph, right? He says, you're going to walk in the path in the path of the Elohim, before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life long into this day. This is the interesting part. The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the names of my fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. This idea of the angel is the same word, but instead of a hey at the beginning, it's a mem, and it's the word malak. And it's the messenger. He's talking about the angel, right? The angel of Yah is the messenger of Yah. Yah is his own messenger. So to get to the Brit Kadashah and get a new messenger with a different message is a violation of Scripture. And I'm going to go on the side of Jacob, Yitzhak, Isaac, and Abraham knew the messenger much better than we do now, because they walked directly with him and knew that the messenger wasn't coming with a new message. If the messenger came with a different message, they would not have followed the messenger. Okay, so he's saying, the angel which redeemed me from all evil. The same angel that redeemed Jacob, Israel, from all evil is the same messenger that comes in the Brit Kadashah, the New Testament, in order to redeem his people back to him again. Same Yah, same redemptive work being perfected in his word made flesh, the Hamashiach. Okay? Next one, Genesis 17:1. I'm sorry. It says, and when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, Yahuwah appeared to him and said, I am the Almighty Yah. Walk before me and be thou perfect. That's what he means. Walk before me and do as I say to do. Okay? So he's this whole idea of a walk. Yah is the one who lays out the path in which we walk in. Exodus 2 and 9, right? Says, flip a little faster. Exodus 2 and 9, and it's talking about Moshe, and it says, and Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, to the child's mother, right? Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. We think that Moshe's mother, and that's why the story gets so confused for people who don't read Scripture and obviously probably haven't looked at it in the Hebrew. We think that she just took this child and then nursed it and then goes, here's this baby back. What she actually told her to do is take this child and halakha this child. Teach him the walk. How crazy is it, though, that Moshe learned the walk from his mother, Jochebed, and then was put back into Pharaoh's daughter's hands. And then when it was time for Yah to speak to him, guess what? He knew who he was. He heard him, responded to him, and walked in the way that had been laid out. Because the Pharaoh's daughter said to the child's mother, halakha this child. Put him, right? Teach him to be in awe of the one that holds the staff. Now, how we understand that and why she said that was definitely prophetic. It was Yah's providential care to put that child whom she trusted first to be in Yah's hand to be protected, and Yah put the child back in her hands in order for her to halakha this child, so that he would then be able to teach the people to walk in the ways of Yah, and to bring forth the seed, the righteous seed, out of Egypt, and then he halakhas the people of Israel by listening and submitting to Yah and giving him his word. It's way too deep. Okay, I'll go a little bit faster through these. So conducting oneself. The halakha, or the walk, is to show you how to conduct yourself. Nobody's being mean to you by telling you to learn the law, statutes, and commandments. It's the way you're supposed to conduct yourself. And then it's the way of manners. It's the way you learn how to be mannerable and how to live. So many people in the church setting, and it doesn't go for everybody, I don't like to paint with a wild brush, but you operate on a base level of lawlessness, interpreting things based upon how they feel to you. It's not about how they feel to you. It's about how they are in alignment with the will of the Father. So this idea of a walk, and this is why Yah is so awesome. Just absolutely awesome. Yah gives a companion for the walk. I don't know if you guys remember this story, but of the golden calf. But one of the interesting things that happens is that when they build the golden calf, he's just like, whoa, you need to go get these people. They're out here doing some stuff. And then he goes, I'm not going to go with them. Because for me to dwell with them would be for me to destroy them, because they're doing some stuff that I can't dwell in the midst of. But I'm going to send my messenger before them. And then he's saying, but I'm going to be with them. So you're like, wait, how are you not going to go, but you're going to go? Because Yah's messenger is himself. He is his own messenger. The person with a different message is not a reflection of the Father. His word is the message, okay? So Yah gave you a companion on the walk. Okay, so let's look at who this companion is then, okay? Who is the companion that is going to be on this walk? Let's go to Malachi chapter 3. Verse 1. And it says, Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and Yahuwah, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Yahuwah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap, and he shall sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahuwah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahuwah, as in the days of old, and as in the former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, that turn aside the strangers from his right, and fear not me, saith Yahuwah of hosts. He is his own messenger. I'm coming as a refiner's fire, and who will be able to stand in my day? Okay? Yah created man to do something, and he gave him, or man as a whole, the word and the messenger as one. Yah's word and him are one. There's no difference in what Yah says and what is said in the Brit Kadashah, because you can't say something different and be the messenger of Yah. Let me tell you. I'll give it to you. Let's go to John 1:1 and see if the New Testament for some people teaches something different from the Old Testament. Is Yah his word? And is the word of Yah Yah? Okay? It's plain as day. Okay? John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yah, and the Word was Yah. The same was in the beginning with Yah. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. The idea of being made is the fact that something was created in order to do something, the stuff that is functioning, right? In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. And so John goes on to talk about himself. And he says that he was sent to bear witness of the light. And that true light, verse 9, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, right, in this realm. And the realm or the world was made, this idea of made, created by him. And the world knew him not. He came into his own, and his own received him not. But as many received him, to him gave he the power to become the sons of Yah, even to them that believe on his name, his character, in the fashion that he came, the way that he was supposed to come in the days of old, the fact that he would be the only redeemer, that Yah is the only one that can redeem you. He sent his word before you as a messenger in order to draw you back to him. He's talking about all these things, talking about the same way and the same walk and the same path that was to put the people were supposed to be on with this companion. You were supposed to be walking with this companion all this time so that when he came, you knew who he was, right? And so he says, which was born, verse 14. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. Okay, so that's in the parentheses. So it says, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us. This is in brackets. And he says, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of his Father. So we'll skip that and go just like this, verse 14. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. And John bare witness of him, crying, saying, This was he of whom I spake. He that cometh after me is before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given by Moshe, but grace and truth is in italics. It actually says, for the law was given by Moshe, grace and truth came by Yahushua HaMashiach. No man hath seen Yah at any time. The only begotten Son, which is the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. The Word and everything that is created is supposed to testify of the Father. Okay, so let's go to Revelation 11. And actually, let's start here. Let's go Revelation 12:17. I'm trying to cover it from the beginning to the end so that we get everything in one place. Why were you created, and what is this walk? 12:17 says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments. This is the New Testament. This is the end of the Testament. Make war with her seed, which keep the commandments of Yah, and have the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. You don't choose either or. It's always been both. You have to believe in the HaMashiach because Yah said, I am your Savior. His name is literally Yah's salvation. You're getting Yah's salvation. But you don't get the salvation and reject the commandments. He says he came with the remnant of her seed. If you're the remnant of her seed, then you should be keeping the commandments of Yah and having the testimony of his salvation. Okay? Revelation 14:2 says, and I heard a voice from heaven, and the voice of many waters, as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of the harpers harping with the lips, with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn the song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So we're not dealing with just the 144,000 in this case. That's a whole nother lesson. But we're dealing with those. And let's go back to verse 1. It says, and look, lo, a lamb stood on Mount Sinai, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads. He's dealing with another group of redeemed, and this idea of a redeemed or a remnant have to be in the way or in the walk. How can you be in the way or in the walk and not be keeping his commandments and having the testimony of his salvation? Okay, so he's talking about these people because they are the ones, and this is Yahushua with his people, right? Those who are going to be used to draw the other people. They are doing the same thing that they've been created to do, the 144,000 in this case, which is to walk and to draw others unto them by preaching this message. If you read through 14, you'll see that they preach a message and then people are drawn to them. Okay? Yahuwah is his own messenger, and he is the one that is journeying with you. Let's go to Revelation 19:11. Revelation 19:11 says, "And I saw a new heaven, and opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name," look at this, a name no man knew but himself. And it's going to tell you, if you guys just keep reading scripture and stop picking stuff apart, you will find that a lot of the questions you have are answered by just reading. A lot of people are using a lot of verses but not reading the whole passage. And he said, his eyes were a flame of fire, and his head were many crowns. And he had a name that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And his name, here it is, here's his name that no man knew but he himself. It's declared right here. It's called the Word of Yah. Right there. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon the white horse, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty Yah. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Master of Masters. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying, To all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves, therefore, unto the supper of the great Yah. That ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the king of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken with him, the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Yah's word precedes him and does everything. But you see this idea here that those who are deceived also receive the punishment of the deceiver. You can't say that I didn't know, because he's given you the halakha. I've given you the way. I've actually put my way into flesh to show you how to walk, and yet you're still listening to what other people are saying. I always get people, it always gets me with people, when they say, well, this person said, or this person said, or this commentary said, or this commentary said, or Jesus said. No, you're saying what you believe Jesus said according to what somebody else said. Because if you read what the Hamashiach actually said, you would have a whole different idea of what this walk was, because the walk and the word are one and the same. The Father and his word and his walk are all echad. They all line up. You don't have offshoots of the walk. It doesn't work like that. You were created for this walk, with this messenger being his word, walking alongside of you with this idea of beholding or being in awe of, teaching you to be in awe of the messenger. If you follow the message of the Hamashiach, the message is always to teach you to be in awe of the one who has the shepherd's staff in his hand. That's the message, pointing back to the one who has put you on this walk from creation. I want to end with something very interesting. And this is probably not necessarily something for a person who's in this Hebrew Israelite walk, but I know there are people who also watch some of the videos who are actually in the Christian faith. And so a lot of them know the preacher, and they use a lot of his commentaries, Matthew Henry. And when I was looking this up, and I hardly ever look at commentaries, I don't even know why the Father led me to this direction. I mean, I don't see the purpose once you know Hebrew and you know that you study the word line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Okay? The word interprets itself. But Yah led me to this, and I believe he led me to this for someone. And I don't know who it is, but people have made these men and these people giants. And they follow them, but they follow everybody the same way. They follow them partially, and they pick and choose what they want to hear about what people have said. Matthew Henry, in this, and my screen stopped, in this commentary, so it's in Bible Hub, and the screen slowed down, so I don't know if it's going to catch up. But I'm going to read it to you anyways. Matthew Henry in the commentary on Revelation 19:11 through 21 that I just read. Oh, it popped up. It says, Christ, the glorious head of the church, is described as on a white horse, the emblem of justice and holiness. He has many crowns, for he is King of kings and Master of masters, or Lord of lords. He is arrayed in a vesture dipped in his own blood, by which he purchased his power as mediator in the blood of his enemy and the blood of his enemies, over whom he always prevails. His name is the Word of God, or the Word of Yah, a name none fully knows but himself. Now, that's true. Only this we know, that this Word of God is manifest in the flesh, but his perfections cannot be fully understood by any creature. Angels and saints follow and are like Christ in their armor of purity and righteousness. The threatenings of the written word he is going to execute on his enemies. The ensign of his authority are his name, asserting his authority and power, warning the most powerful princes to submit or they must fall before him. The power of earth and hell make their utmost effort. These verses declare important events foretold by the prophets. These persons were not excused because they did what their leader bade them. So he's saying these persons were not excused because they did what the people who were over them told them to do. How vain will be the plea of many sinners at the great day. And people always think that a sinner are those who are out here doing drinking and partying. Sinner is, by James' definition, a sin is transgression of Yah's law. Okay? Transgression of what he has set forth. So if you're transgressing his law, you are a sinner and you are in the like of this particular passage. Okay? We follow our guides, right? We did as we saw others do. So we're walking according to the way. Oh, we've been doing this for a long time because we're Christians and Constantine did this and the Council of Nicaea did this. And yes, the Catholic Church did this and we're so happy that they did this. We follow our guides. We did as we saw others do, not like we're following the Hamashiach. God has given a rule to walk by in his word. Neither the example of the most nor of the chief must influence us contrary thereto. If we do as the most do, we must go where the most go, even into the burning lake. This is Matthew Henry for the Christian people who are picking up these commentaries and saying that the word says to be lawless. It's not there. You've been given a walk that you were created to be on from Genesis. Before there was a written law, Yah created you for this walk, to walk in his path, according to his glory, to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world, in order to draw people to him. That's it. So, now we know that why we were created. Now we must walk in the good path therein, so that we can find rest and be blessed. Shalom, shalom.